Let's start this by saying this is beta testing footage, and this video is mostly geared towards newcomers curious about the Monster Hunter franchise. And one more thing, if you played Monster Hunter Rise, that game is not indicative of a good Monster Hunter game. I know it was the most recent, but that was mostly designed so that the Nintendo Switch could have a Monster Hunter game on it, and it was scaled down quite a bit. This will be significantly better. Now, I refuse to make guarantees on quality until I've played the actual game, but that being said, if the game is anything like the beta, oh, it's totally the direction we're going to go in here for a while. This game comes out in February, so there's gonna be a minute between this and when it drops, but let's talk about it because this is dope. For the unaware, Monster Hunter is like Dark Souls or Elden Ring if they took place somewhere that wasn't more depressing than East Germany in the 50s. It's also devoid of that whole, I just chugged an entire bottle of Robitussin kind of story pacing. You're a guy, or a gal, that specializes in roaming massive maps and squaring up with, you guessed it, monsters. There's a litany of ways you will be fighting them, and that's actually the second or third thing we're covering. Beta testing information goes first. If you manage to snag the beta, which is running free on every major platform now for the next few days, here's a couple of warnings before we get back to the cool stuff. You are only keeping your character customization if you end up getting the full game. Nothing else. That's pretty standard for most beta testing, but I still thought you should know. There is one map you will be given access to, and it has 4 main target monsters. With all the weaponry I'm about to mention, trust me, it's more than enough stuff for the time frame. Naturally, as with all beta testing, you will encounter a few bugs. Things will feel limited because you aren't able to go through a lot of different crafting progression systems, and I want you to understand, there is an imagination-breaking amount of crafting and customization that Monster Hunter likes to bring to the table, but that's going to be a video for February when the full game arrives. It's just important that you know that this barely scratches the surface in terms of what you're going to be able to do in the full game. Now that character customization I mentioned. For the most part, you can change your character and the little cat friend they have at will. However, aspects like skin color, facial features, and bodily attributes are there to stay when you set them. Bear in mind, set your skin shade slightly lighter than you want it to be. Yes, I know, sadly, we cannot pull an Uncle Ruckus and claim reverse vitiligo. I say this because I got my character very close to what I look like, but when dusk hits, I suddenly become Moroccan. Now, like I said, we have no forge permissions, but it's not all bad. The upside to not having access to the forge is that we get direct access to 4 armor sets off of the bat. Now you can try to focus on the numbers they give you to optimize whatever you're wearing, but it doesn't really matter at this level, just put on what looks cool and enjoy yourself. Okay, now onto that weapon selection that I said you would be waiting for. We're just gonna run through these things one by one. Alright? Okay. The Greatsword is your standard large chunk of metal that can be used to stab, slash, and sever your targets. It's not very imaginative, but it's not supposed to be. The Longsword is the natural evolution of the Greatsword player. This is a weapon designed to awaken the anime protagonist or antagonist lying dormant within you. The sword and shield are meant for the indecisive but effective. If you prefer a buffet to a steakhouse, this is your kind of weaponry. Every single playstyle has a finger in this old whore. Dual blades, my personal favorite weapon, are for those of us recovering from cocaine addiction. Defense be damned, these turn you into a tornado of blood and steel who cannot understand a speed that isn't stomping a gas pedal through the floor. The hammer is a big-ass hammer. The hunting horn is the girlfriend who's not really into video games option. The majority of what you're doing is belting out tunes for your teammates to get down and schmoovin' to. The lance is the concept of poking a dangerous animal with a stick repeatedly. The gun lance is what happens when America saw the guy with the stick and thought they could do it better. They did. The switch axe is a fucking Decepticon, transforming between sword and axe mid-fight. Learning this weapon is a true test of patience and skill that I don't really have figured out yet. Oh, and they put a gun in this bitch, too. The Charge Blade is pretty much the Chad meme as a piece of metal that can transform between a sword and shield, halberd, and a buzzsaw. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you use this weapon to a high degree, you are the main character. The Insect Glaive happened when someone had a fondness for the pole vault, prison shivs, and entomology. My brain can completely understand this weapon, but my body simply can't interpret the information usefully, so it's like I'm playing with broken fingers when I pick it up. Never mind, I completely found out how to use the insect glaive, and I'm actually kinda raw with it. It's dope as hell. The light bowgun behaves similarly to your standard burst rifle in whatever shooter may come to mind. The heavy bowgun plays like you are holding a tank turret at your hip with a desire to harm a building. The bow and arrow is employed when you see melee players like me charging, getting fucking annihilated with one close range attack, and then you learn the lesson vicariously through my pain. When you're learning to use weaponry, look in the top right corner and do a little shadow boxing. Find combos that you like and do what you can to commit them to memory. I will say this though, some combos you're only going to figure out mid-fight. Do yourself a favor and keep the initial tutorial tips on. You might accidentally learn something. By the way, you don't use stamina when you're attacking. It's mostly going to apply to your dodge meter. And before I forget, don't do what I do. I am a mentally unhinged Blade player. I promise you with all of my heart that you don't want to use mouse and keyboard for this. It's possible, but with any and all credibility that I have, I assure you that playing with a controller feels better. Also, since I'm about finished here, veteran Monster Hunter players feel free to chime in with some advice for the newcomers. And make sure you don't overwhelm them with information. People want to read a comment, not a novel. And you'll see these plants around, green plants, herbs. Pick those, it'll automatically make a potion for your inventory. If you go and grab honey, it'll make a mega potion, which is naturally a potion but stronger. It auto-crafts them, just grab that stuff whenever you see it. Closing statements are pretty much just going to be me shoveling coal into a hype train, because let's be real. Fighting dinosaurs and dragons with a knife is fucking badass. This seems to be shaping up as an all-around improvement to Monster Hunter World, which on its own was phenomenal. Honestly, if you see that game on sale and there is some spare change burning a hole in your pocket, I would jump on it. As a matter of fact, I may get it myself and play it for you guys so you can have a better idea of what to expect. But in any case, this game comes out in February, so that's as much as I'm going to give it praise so far in case something fucks up, and well, knowing my luck, I'm sorry, but I just jinxed the entire release. Well, as per usual, if you need friends for Helldivers, Space Marine, really whatever game you can imagine, there is a Discord linked in the description if you are old enough, and it's full of people willing to help. That's all I've got for you today, but thank you for watching, and have a good one.